Thank you very much, and welcome this morning. As juniors and seniors, this is a privilege for you that you actually are here in person to meet and to listen to our distinguished citizens of the class of 2023. I want to welcome you guys here. I also want to welcome our freshmen and sophomores that are listening in their classrooms, along with the teaching staff that is with them at this particular time. I also want to welcome those within the community that are on TV right now, and also those that are joining us from around the country to take in our celebration of these four individuals. A special week as we go through. It's been a busy week, but I'm very, very thankful. And I think my biggest thing before I introduce our first student to present our first distinguished citizen, if you're a student that's in the audience right now, and if you don't have to listen and take away every single thing that is said from each one of these folks, but I will ask you to take away just one small thing or two things, because they're excellent in what they've done, and getting to know them, the message will be very clear. And I just ask you to take away one or two things that can be applied to your individual lives as you're kind of moving forward. So with that, please make sure, as always, as typical with our distinguished citizens that are joining us, give them the respect that is owed to them. And make sure you make eye contact, be engaged within this time. Thank you, and at this time I want to present to join us. Thank you.
Our first distinguished citizen is Marva Dodson. She is a 1962 graduate of Massillon Washington High School. She continued her education at Malone University Hospital School of Nursing, graduating in 1964, Stark State College Center for Employee Development and Management in 1986, and Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce, Leadership Stark County, 1990. Marva's journey has been focused on civic engagement and service and historian. Her personal achievements are Altman Hospital Operating Room Nurse, Canton Orthopedics, Massillon City Schools Public Preschool Program Health Coordinator, and Massillon and Stark County Community Service. Ms. Dodson has served the Massillon community in numerous roles, including United Way of Greater Stark County Agency Review Committee, American Heart Association of Stark and Wayne Counties Board of Directors, Community Hospice of Stark and Tuscarawas Advisory Board, Habitat for Humanity of Massillon Board of Directors, Affinity Medical Center Board of Directors, formerly Massillon Community Hospital, owner and exhibitor of the Charisma Collection, Massillon Black History, the William McKinley Presidential Library and Museum, Stark County Story Contributor, and Massillon Museum's Missing History of Massillon, Unheard African American Stories Contributor. Her honors and numerous awards are many. National Recognition for Charisma Exhibit, Who's Who in Black Cleveland, Akron, Stark County Award, and the One Tiger Heritage Award for Lifetime Community Service and Achievements. With great respect, it's my honor to introduce WHS Distinguished Citizen Marva Dodson.
Thank you, Grace, for that fine introduction. It is such a pleasure to see all of you here this morning. Oh my goodness, I can just remember, it was just a couple years ago that I sat where you're sitting, only it was in the old Washington High School. But as I said, it's just a pleasure to see all of you. And the last time I was in this auditorium was to sing in the 2021 Messiah. So if some of you remember my face, that is where it was from. I was sitting right on this side in the soprano section. I have had, for as long as I can remember, a love of music. But as you can see, I am being honored for civic engagement and service, and for my history collection, not only Massillon history, but Stark County and outside of Ohio. How did I get to that point? I have always been a collector since, I'm going to say, late junior high or high school years. as a collector by starting off with cutting out newspaper articles. And then as my newspaper articles grew, I began to add photographs, old photographs. I love going to secondhand stores and looking to see what I can find there that might enhance my collection. And to that, I began to add artifacts, or collectible things, I should say, which are now considered artifacts. So my history collection dates back many, many years, probably many of them before your parents were even born. But it has just been something that I have enjoyed for as long as I can remember. You may also be aware that I am a nurse. And my nursing career began at Timken Mercy Hospital. I'm going to go back further than that, and I don't know if they still have it or not. I was a member of the Future Nurses Club here at Washington High School, and they allowed the Future Nurses members of the club to help staff the school clinic at that time under the supervision of the Massillon City Schools' one and only school nurse, Miss June Saunders. And from there, I went on to Malone College, and from Malone College to Timken Mercy Hospital, School of Nursing, and it was like I just took off running. I enjoyed being a candy striper at the hospital, which was Massillon City Hospital, which was a part of my Future Nurses experience. And from a candy striper, as I said, on to, after graduation, Malone College, Timken Mercy Hospital. And then from there, I went on to work at Altman Hospital, Department of Surgery. Young and energetic and just enjoyed the exciting experience for the emergencies. And not only did we have the scheduled class surgeries, but we had the emergency surgeries, your automobile accidents and shootings. You just can't imagine what all we had, but I enjoyed that so much. Back during that time, we had to take call, and the same on odd shifts, afternoon shift or midnight shift, or on the weekends when the surgery staff was we didn't have as many people scheduled. There were a group of nurses who were called in, and we had to be at the hospital within 20 minutes of our call. So I used to sleep in my clothes in case I was called in for an emergency. And as I said, we had to be at the hospital within 20 minutes. By me living in Massillon, Altman Hospital being in Canton, I was ready. So following my experience as an operating room nurse, one of the surgeons asked if I would come to work in their orthopedic office. We were doing a laminectomy, which is a back surgery during that time, and he said, "Marva, would you like to come and work in my office?" And I said, "Oh, you're kidding." And so I agreed to go over, do a tour of the office, meet the staff, and ultimately decided to work in that office for 4 orthopedic surgeons. And we just took care of many bone and joint conditions from birth to death, really. From the time children were first born until the people were aged, 80, 90, some almost 100 years old, that had fractured hips and that sort of thing, broken bones. If I have to tell you a funny story, that one of the physicians that I worked for was the team doctor for McKinley. So every year we would have this rivalry about McKinley and the Massillon Tigers. And I would always say it's the Massillon-McKinley game. And he said, no, it's the McKinley-Massillon game. So I thought, well, I'm going to break this up. So one year I tied a stuffed tiger on the back of his car. And he drove around a couple days without realizing that it was there. And finally he realized what it was, and he came walking in the office with his tiger in his hand, and he said, there's no one in this office that would ever do this to me except you. He said, you know how humiliating it was to know that I'm the team doctor for McKinley Bulldogs and I'm riding around with a tiger on the back of my... But that was one of the experiences. I love nursing. I've had not only the nursing at the hospital and in the orthopedic office for more than 20 years, but I thought I was retiring, and the year I retired in April, and by August I was being recruited to come here to Massillon City Schools to work as a school nurse, the health coordinator for the public preschool program, which was just beginning at that time. And at that time, I began with Grace Musey's mother, who was Christy Letkovitz. And I was happy to meet Grace during this period. Grace wasn't born. She was just, I don't even know if she was a twinkle in her parents' eye at that time. But I enjoyed working with her mother, who is an excellent teacher. So I worked for Massillon City Schools for 13 years, and due to some other life experiences, it caused me to have to retire. But even in retirement, I have remained having my thumb in the pie in the health care community by serving on boards, and I had good experiences with the Stark County Health Department back when they used to have large community health immunizations for the public, and I volunteered with the Medical Reserve Corps with them for a few years. But I have to leave you with this. There was a time when I, as well as the other honorees, sat just where you're sitting, and we had our teachers who we looked up to mentor us. But I'm hoping, my high school years couldn't have been happier. Not only did I sing in the choir, a member of Future Nurses, but I was a member of the first cheer team. I wasn't a cheerleader. I was a little tall to be a cheerleader at that time. But we had a section where a card section, that's what it was called, in order to support our athletic teams through all of these sports activities. But enjoy your high school years. Enjoy the people that you are meeting now, because once graduation day comes and everybody goes in a different direction, life will not be the same. You will maintain a few of your relationships, and as time goes on, some of those relationships may even diminish. But as much as you can, please enjoy this time together with the staff. Some you'll like, some you won't like, but pick out something with your teachers, the other staff members, that is going to be of a positive nature, that will teach you to give good service to others, and most of all, try to establish your position as being a leader in something. So that being said, I've enjoyed talking to you this morning. I hate that I could probably go on and on and on and tell you a lot of other stories, but I won't. I will give the other honorees an opportunity to speak. Thank you very much. It has been my pleasure.
Our next distinguished citizen is Frank Corral. Frank Corral was a Lauren Andrews Green Dragon and graduated from Washington High School in 1953. Frank was a three-time champion on the 1950, 51, and 52 Massillon Tiger football team coached by Chuck Mather. He was a letterman and named All-Star County in 1952. Frank was also involved in the Leaders Club at the Massillon YMCA from 1948 to 1953. Frank attended and graduated from Columbia University with a Bachelor's of Arts in 1957 and School of Engineering, earning a Bachelor of Science in 1958. Frank was also the starting center for the Columbia Lions football team for 3 years, from 1954 to 1956. Corral's amazing career path included business and community. He started his career in Massillon at Union Drawn as a special shapes foreman. Frank moved to Wheeling Pittsburgh Steel as an industrial engineer, then Wisconsin Steel as a plant manager, then Keystone Steel and Wire as vice president and plant manager. Finally, Chicago Heights Steel as president from 1986 to 2008. Frank is also involved in activities in community, including Steel Manufacturers Association president from 1989 to 1991, Illinois Philharmonic Orchestra for 23 years, and presently sponsors the Virginia and Joe Corral Scholarship to honor Chuck Mather for WHS students. It gives me pleasure to introduce a true lifetime Tiger, Mr. Frank Corral.
I have to tell you, anything I did, I was lucky. Truly. And the students here do not realize what a wonderful place this is. Gosh. This is so awesome to me in that little school that was downtown. And this is something unbelievable to me. You guys have really got an opportunity here. I was very fortunate. I looked for a school to go to, and these schools really didn't care about football players, but they liked to see if they could do something. And Massillon is where they came, and you could get in to these schools, get scholarships, and I was just lucky as hell, to be honest with you, that I had this background. But this is unbelievable what you have here today. I think this school is really awesome. I think about when I was here, I thought, oh gosh, this is something, nothing. This is awesome, this place. You all have a great opportunity, and just go on and look for it. And I think my daughter's telling me I've talked long enough.
Not at all, not at all. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Laurie. I'm Frank Corral's oldest daughter, and I grew up hearing stories about Massillon. My whole family grew up hearing them, and they've become the lore of our family, and in a great part, they're the narrative of our family. My father got his first job. He came back to Massillon after college and got his first job here with Union Drawn. And would you like to tell them how that came about?
Because my mother worked with the fella that was running Union Drawn with the American Cancer Society.
That's right.
And my mom was not bashful. And she said, "My son's graduating, he needs a job." She shamed him into hiring me. So
It worked.
it was really quite interesting. My dad was a barber. We lived downtown, right downtown Massillon. So I was lucky as heck. I went to a great school. It was wonderful. So when you go out there looking for it, just look at the opportunities you have. There are some great schools out there. Just go after them.
Right.
So I was very fortunate. I went to one, and after playing in Massillon, where we won 10 games and state champs, at Columbia, where I went to school, we won 5 games in the 3 years I played. So you can tell I was the lucky one. So I played with a bunch of good guys too. I'd like to see if I could find every one of them now.
Yeah.
So I can only say that I was very fortunate. Heck of a school here. This is amazing. I can't imagine what I might have done. Probably flunked.
No way.
This is a great opportunity that you all have here, and so enjoy it and go for it. Enjoy life.
Yes, and my father began here in Massillon after Union Drawn. We moved to Wheeling, West Virginia, and we're there for about 10 or 11 years. My father worked for Wheeling Pittsburgh Steel, and then in the 1970s, the late 1970s, steel started to change, and you moved our family to Chicago.
Right. And again, very fortunate. I got an opportunity at the time where the board of directors asked me if I wanted to buy the place I was working at, and the board gave me a chance to buy it, and I did, and I was lucky as heck.
So he had an option. My father had they gave him an option to, would he be interested in buying the steel mill that he had been running, or would he be interested in taking a different job with the steel mill he was with, Keystone, it was called.
Yeah.
And so some of the foundation that he got in Massillon from school and from family, he analyzed and evaluated, and with the help of friends he made in the union.
Yes. I found out that they were better as friends than they were the enemy. And so it's, you know, you just, if you have the opportunity, take it. And you have a great school here. You're going to get an education that is absolutely wonderful. And I was very fortunate to find out about Columbia, and that was a great school for me. So all I can tell you is life is good. You got a great place here to go forward. So do it and enjoy it. That's what I did. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to add just one thought. As my dad sits down, is that there's something very special about Massillon. There's something, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's almost like an alchemical process. It's a making of space, it's a coming together of students and teachers who are mentors. So football and education, family and friends in this community, industry, volunteerism, and personal and collective expression. And it's so, I think it's unusual. I think when you walk out into the world and begin exploring, however your path takes you, that you will find that where you come from, this alchemical process is here. So congratulations on everything that you're doing, where you will go, who you'll meet, and how you will bring this special place into the world.
Our next distinguished citizen is Charles Chip Paquelet. He's a 1983 graduate of Massillon Washington High School, where he played for the Massillon Tiger football team under Mike Currents from 1980 to 1982, including the 1982 state runner-up team. Chip also lettered on the Tiger Shark swim team. After graduation, Chip attended Case Western Reserve University, where he played football from 1983 to 1986 and graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Finance. He also studied at the Tufts University in France and was awarded an internship at B.F. Goodrich. Chip received his MBA from the Indiana University in Finance. Mr. Paquelet's career path achievements include business, finance, and community. He was a partner at Strong Capital Management, a Milwaukee-based investment management firm from 1988 to 2003, where he managed nearly $50 billion in investments at its peak. Chip managed 4 mutual funds, a Bermuda-domiciled hedge fund, and 2 domestic partnerships, where it led a management buyout of the hedge fund business unit. He founded Skylands Capital, LLC, a Milwaukee-based investment management firm, and continues to manage hedge funds previously managed at Strong to a global clientele. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a Massillon Tiger and WHS Distinguished Citizen, Charles Chip Paquelet.
Thanks, guys. So, like the others, I was in your chair a long time ago. My grade school, Bowers, is gone. The middle school, Lauren Andrews, is gone. The old high school is gone. But the most important structure in town, Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, still stands. So make sure you get there every Friday night. So what I thought I would do is tell my story. And the reason isn't to talk about me, but to hopefully give you some guideposts or thoughts or perspectives that maybe can help you. And I consider myself to be very, very fortunate. First, I was born in post-war America. I think if you're born in post-war America, you're in the luckiest 1% of people that have ever lived in the history of the world. You all won the lottery. You were born here. Okay, so that's point number one. And I've traveled, with my career opportunities, I've traveled probably 50 times overseas, 30 countries, I think. I wouldn't trade my passport for any that I've seen. And so recognize that up front. Number two, I had good parents. Some people do, some don't. I did. Really good friends, a wonderful wife, and really lucky. But the punchline in the luck department was playing football for Massillon. So what that did for me was, number one, it got me into college. So I I was an ordinary player in an extraordinary program. And I ended up going to Case Western Reserve, which at the time was probably the most selective school in the state. Maybe it still is, don't know. And I graduated near the top of my class, but I wasn't number one or number two. And this was a college that would only consider number one or number two. But I got in through football, and Mike Kearns, the coach at the time, he spoke to the coach up there. I actually don't know to this day which side contacted the other first, but they had the conversation. I was accepted, went to school, through a lot of grit and effort, ended up doing well there. Got to know the dean of admissions at Case well. She told me later on that I was a real tough call, and it was really heartwarming. When I was applying to graduate schools, she asked if she could write a letter of recommendation for me. So it was, but football opened that door. That would not have happened absent football. So then I go to graduate school, end up doing well there, and I'm now in a position to get interviews with really prestigious firms in my chosen line of work, which was Wall Street. And Wall Street's a place that's populated by kids that graduate from Harvard, Yale, Princeton. That's the funnel that feeds Wall Street. And now I'm going to have this interview with this man that could hire anybody he wanted. He could have hired anyone in the country. And I'm sitting in the back seat of his car. He's a busy guy, back seat of his car while he's driving from one meeting to the next. And he looks up in his rear view mirror and he says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "A little town south of Cleveland." And he said, "Oh yeah, which one?" And I said, "Massillon." And then he immediately said, "Did you play football?" And I was hired. And if I told you the career opportunities, the monetary rewards, the relationships, the things that I've had, it's just mind-numbing how good it all was. And the root of it all was the football program here. So I owe a deep gratitude to all the players and coaches that came before me, Frank and others, that created the reputation of excellence and achievement that really paved the way. And I hope that this town, this community, and all of you, especially the football players, keep it going so this opportunity can repeat and repeat and repeat. It's something you have that's special, and keep it going. And I thought to wrap up, just give you like 3 points of advice for life. One is think for yourself. And that's especially difficult now with the internet and so on. You'll get bombarded with ideas from every quadrant, and whether it's from your friends, your teachers, your parents, clergy, politicians, be real skeptical there. Everywhere, you're going news media, you're going to get a lot of ideas. My advice, respectfully listen to them all, but in the end, think for yourself. And just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. So that's point number one. Point number two, life is not fair. It's not fair that you were all born in the United States and 97% of the people alive today were not. You're lucky, they're not. Life's not fair. It's not fair that 1% of the people pay almost half the taxes. It's not fair that only 2% of the population serves in the military and defends all of us, while the other 98% just sit back and take it for granted. It's not fair that some people are born with good physical attributes that help them in athletics or music or art, and others aren't. All kinds of things aren't fair. But keep this in mind, the world's more fair today than it's probably ever been, and the fairest place in the world is right here. So keep that in mind, and my advice is take the hand that you have and make the most of it. Don't whine about something that you don't think's quite fair enough. Just make the most of what you have. And since this is a school, I thought I would end with my last point on education. There are a lot of reasons why getting an education is a good thing, but think of it, here's another one you may not have thought of. Most things that are precious to you in life can be taken from you. Your boss can fire you, your government can take your money, your spouse can leave you. Most things can be taken from you. One thing nobody can ever take from you is your education. That's yours, you own it forever. No one can ever take it. And so, get a good education. And finally, I do a scholarship program here. I started it when I was 28 years old, and every year in May I come to award scholarships. So I will see probably 15 or 20 of you in May and look forward to it. Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Shawn G. Turskey. He was a 1984 graduate from Massillon, Washington High School. He was the class president of baseball varsity letterman in 82 to 84 and was a co-MVP for the team in 84. He was a Tiger basketball varsity player in 83. He continued his education at the University of Akron, obtaining a bachelor's degree in science and a master's in electrical engineering. Shawn also attended the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School, earning an Executive Education Certificate, National War College, Master's in National Security Strategy, and is a Certified Information Systems Security Professional. Shawn's amazing career path was focused on cybersecurity and national security at the National Security Agency, U.S. Cyber Command, and the Department of Homeland Security. He now works for Facebook. He served 35 years in support of intelligence and cybersecurity for NSA. He's a senior executive with the equivalent civilian rank of a 3-star general and is also instrumental in shaping national cyber capabilities, operations, and policy. Mr. Turskey's additional awards and honors include the Letter of Recognition from the Department of Homeland Security, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Joint Distinguished Civilian Service Award, Presidential Rank Award issued by the President of the United States, U.S. Cyber Command, Joint Cyber Training Center Auditorium, which was named after him in 2016. Let's give a big Tiger welcome to WHS Distinguished Citizen Shawn G. Turskey. Thank you.
It was December 2014, and the movie The Interview had just come out. It's a movie about U.S. journalists that are going to North Korea, and the CIA recruits them to assassinate the supreme leader of North Korea. I'll tell you, North Korea was not happy about this, not at all. They did not want the movie released. There was a hacker group called Guardians of the Peace. What a sweet name, right? And they hacked Sony headquarters in California. It was really one of the first times this has ever happened. There was another hacker group, a different hacker group, and they were called Lizard Squad. And get this, you know what they did? They took down the PlayStation Network. That should impact you. You could not play PlayStation. At the time, I was at United States Cyber Command, which is a military command with a mission to defend our networks and project offensive cyber power. I was working 14-hour days, getting home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I got home one night and my 3 kids are sitting on the couch. And I walked in and they said, "Dad, what are you doing home? PlayStation's not working. Go back to work." And so I was shocked by their response, and I often even said to me, "Our friends and I are counting on you." And it was interesting at that time I was starting to realize how my different worlds can collide. And I wanted to say today, and this is just a quick disclaimer from our lawyers, I'm here on my personal capacity. I'm not representing the U.S. government, and I'm not representing Meta or Facebook. So there you go. I got to get that on the record. Hey, I want you to consider doing something greater than yourself. You know, for me, it was about serving our country in civilian clothes. For me, my passion has been stopping bad people from doing bad things. Right? I want to stop bad people from doing bad things. In my career, I was really fortunate. I had the opportunity to collect intelligence, signals intelligence, to defend our country and support our troops, to help find and stop terrorists. I learned how other countries like Iran, North Korea, China were hacking us, and learned how to find that out to defend our networks in a better way. In my last job, it was really an interesting job. I got to work with the Department of Homeland Security, and any signals intelligence that came through NSA that went to the Department of Homeland Security, or any cybersecurity measures that needed to go to them, came through our office. I was really fortunate to work with the secretaries of DHS, so you see them on TV, Secretary Mayorkas, Chad Wolf, to personally work with them, sometimes on a weekly basis. I worked with the U.S. Secret Service on executive protection and presidential protection. I worked with CISA, the cyber element of DHS, on cyber and election security. I worked with TSA on airline security and the Coast Guard, CBP, and ICE on border security, stopping cartels, drug trafficking, and human smuggling. The reason I go through that is that those aren't just far-off jobs that just happen in other places, right? These are jobs that you could have. Right? These are things you could do to serve our country in any one of those things, in any one of those capacities. Today I'm with Meta, with Facebook, and the organization I'm in is interested in reducing fraud and abuse across the family of apps. And I just want to speak generically today, and I think this may be the most important thing I say today. But in a crowd this size, and please don't raise your hand, but I'm sure some of you have already been scammed, right? I'm sure some of you have been scammed, and I'm confident everybody here knows somebody that's been scammed. And I'll tell you, unfortunately, in a crowd this size, there's somebody being scammed right now, right? Right now, there's somebody being scammed. Hey, this can happen to anybody, and I don't want anybody to think it's just for the elderly people or whatever. You know, and it really can happen to any of us. And I'm just going to tell you right now, never send money to anyone you don't know, and never send inappropriate photos. Right, let's just make an assumption here, all right? If you haven't personally met the person you're talking with on the internet, or your family hasn't met them, or your friends haven't met them, then let's call it a scam, all right? And I don't care if they're saying they're flying into town tomorrow and you need to send them $200 to get here. It's a scam. Let's assume it's a scam by default and be surprised if it's real. Wouldn't that be great? Instead, too much in our culture, we assume it's real. And then after all of our money is gone, or after we send inappropriate photos, that we then realize that it was a scam, right? So this is my little public service announcement today, and I'll tell you, I talked to one of your guidance counselors the other day. If this is you or you're in this type of situation, reach out to your guidance counselors. It's one of the most important things we can do. You know, I like stopping bad people from doing bad things, and who would think that this opportunity today, we could do it today, right? Very important. Hey, I want to talk a little bit more just about consider doing something greater than yourself. And I said this the other day to the staff, but the teachers, the coaches, the staff, the administration, I just can't thank you for what you do for these students and what the teachers did when I was here. A quick story, and many stories I could go into, but specifically Mr. Behrens was my high school math teacher. You know, I was struggling in algebra, and I thought I might even have to drop out, and I went to him after class, and I can guarantee you if he was here today, he would never remember this conversation. But he gave me inspiration. He said, you can do this, you're doing okay. It was hard for me, but I was able to keep on going, and ultimately got an engineering degree. By the way, he taught our first computer class. We had TRS-80s with 2 disk drives. So there you go. Coaches as well, some great coaches. Davey Knoll that just invested his life in so many people, and specifically Coach Utterback, who's here today. My baseball coach, and truly just a man of character. I just thank you everything for, sir, you've done for me, not only here in high school, but as a friend and throughout my life. Having him as a mentor has just been great. So relax. I want you to know you have time for your career decisions. Right? I just think there's too much stress on kids nowadays. Like in 9th grade, you got to pick your major. Like, what are you going to do in 10 years? Like, who knows what you're going to do in 10 years, right? You know, I graduated in '84. I went to the University of Akron. I had good grades. I didn't have great grades. I wasn't in the National Honor Society. You know what? When I got to Akron, I didn't test into, you know, Calc 2. I had to take pre-calculus and developmental chemistry, right? I tell you, my counselor gave me little hope to be an engineer, let alone get through the first year. Now, I wish I would have remembered her name. I would have liked to have invited her here today. But this is why I tell you, no one needs to be in a hurry. Nobody asked me today if I had to take pre-calc or developmental chemistry, right? Nobody even asked me today, get this, they don't even ask me if I have a master's degree in electrical engineering, right? Because you know what people care about on the outside? They care about Can you get along with others? Can you make others better? Can you build teams? Can you make an impact? Right? Life is more about emotional intelligence, EQ, and less about how smart you are. And that's one key thing I'd want you to take away with. And listen, I'm not sure where you're planning on going after high school. If it's community college, God bless you. Great decision, right? I think you pay for, it's a fraction of the cost, and it's the same classes. Please go to community college. It's great. The military is a phenomenal option. Some of the greatest leaders I know with the best education are military leaders. Trade schools, please go to trade school. You don't want me doing my electrical work at my house, right? Please, we need people in trade schools to continue on. And I got to give a shout out to cybersecurity, right? If you get a chance, there's a website called cyberseek.org, cyberseek.org. It's just a simple dashboard. It'll show you that there are over 800,000 jobs in America right now open in cybersecurity, right? You got to get some cyber knowledge. And that doesn't mean that you have to go into a cybersecurity field, but I don't care what field you're in, you need to have some cyber knowledge. You know, and it doesn't have to mean you have to be a computer scientist and you're coding and you're a geek, you know, in your mom's basement, but I will tell you, if you are doing that, the National Security Agency will hire you. But you could be in threat intelligence, incident response, intrusion analysis, forensics analysis, system administrator. You could even be in sales. You could be in HR. But I just want to give a shout out how important cyber could be in your life. And finally, in wrapping this up, I know there's so much today on focusing on titles and honors and accomplishments, and I don't want you to leave here thinking that's what success is. Right? You want to know what success is? Success is being a junior in high school. And December 13th, 1982, Taco Bell was my first date with my wife, Stacy. That's success. You know what success is? She was a captain of the cheerleaders for Tuslaw. And success was when she wore my Tigers jacket. That was success. You know, I want you to know that it's more about the it's less about the accomplishments and about a great marriage, a great family, and having family here with me today. It's about being fulfilled in a job where really it's a hobby, right? I mean, a lot of times I do the things I do it for free. And so, Stacy, I love you so much, and family, thank you for being here to support me. And in closing, I just want to share my priorities with you. They're my priorities. They don't have to be your priorities, right? So they're mine. They don't have to be yours. But I think you need to know what yours are. My priorities are my faith, my family, and my work. And they're in that order, right? And that to me is knowing what that is and continuing with that through my life. And that is success. So hey, I want to just have a big thank you to Washington High School, to Massillon, to the committee, to the class of '84 that I'm from, and to all my family and friends for giving me this opportunity to say thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you very much.
Hold on just for 1 second here as you guys get moving, and I know we're closing in on 1026. The greatest, just in closing real quickly, anytime you have this much experience sitting in front of you, you should always take advantage of the information that they have and take away some small tidbit of what they can give you on a regular basis. And I will tell you, as the building principal here, I am very, very thankful for you guys and your being able to sit and pay attention and be engaged in the conversation. And I hope that we have been representative of the respect that you deserve as distinguished citizens here. Students, thank you so much. You're a blessing. Thank you. And you guys can move on to your next transition. Thank you.